session. We are here to learn about the Senior Community Service Employment Program, which we call CSEP. My name is Kate Young. I am the lead trainer here at A4TD. I'm going to be giving you information about CSEP, which is a workforce development project run by our organization, specializing in serving individuals 55 and older, unemployed, and looking for work. Let me give a little bit of background about who A4TD is. Our full name is Associates for Training and Development, and we began in 1983. Ms. Pat Elmer founded us, and we have been, for the entirety of that time, specializing on supporting mature workers and finding jobs. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. What we do is that we run projects that connect mature workers who are 55 and older with employment opportunities. So things like administering workforce development projects for the state and federal government, as well as some private foundations have asked us to run their projects. Our goal is to increase those opportunities and to help folks re-enter the workforce, not just for any job, but we want to make sure that we are helping folks obtain jobs that they really want to do and that they have some interest and some ability in. Because we know that folks are more likely to stay in jobs and enjoy their jobs if they feel comfortable at them. We accomplish this mission, so we're able to do all of the good work we do because of our core values. You can see up in the top right corner there are the 4 main core values. So continuous improvement, we are constantly learning from what we do and growing what we do. And we just keep getting better and better at all the services that we provide. You know, a great example, of course, is everybody had to pivot and learn and adapt during COVID, and we did too. We were able to come up with ways to continue serving our participants even during the lockdown. We also are really customer focused. And when I say customer, what I mean is that we put the attention on the people that we work with. So folks who are eligible for the program, folks who are even considered ineligible, we make sure we refer them to organizations that can help them. But we also work with our community partners. And that's where the teamwork and partnership piece comes into our core values. Is our teamwork is all of those staff members here at A4TD that help each other and work with each other. We have regional coordinators and CMPAs and lots of different staff who are able to assist one another and help our clients as well. And our partnerships are super big in making sure we can provide services for our participants. And those partnerships are with our host agencies, which are other nonprofits, and other community organizations that help support our participants with all kinds of different services. So our organization is located in 5 states. We cover all of Vermont, most of Maine, most of New York, a little bit of Pennsylvania, and a little bit of Connecticut. We originally started in northern Vermont. Our home office or administrative office is in St. Albans, Vermont. But in all of the states we serve and all of the areas that we serve, we have local offices. So, for example, if I zoom in here on New York, we have it broken into all the different counties. And so our capital region is this kind of orangish color. And if you are in one of those counties, you are served by those folks. And those asterisks are where our offices are. So there's Troy. We have an office right there. So we're able to serve our communities because we have offices all over the place. Looking at the rest of all of the maps here, any county that is colored in is a county that we serve. So we, like I said, cover most of Maine except for Cumberland and Lincoln counties. We cover all of Vermont. We cover central Pennsylvania, and then 3 counties of Connecticut. So let's get into the actual program. So what is the Senior Community Service Employment Program, which we call CSEP? A little bit of context background for you, I call them my fun facts for the program, is that it was originally authorized as part of the Older Americans Act of 1965, part of Title V. And so it is the oldest jobs training program in the country and the only one specifically designed and developed to serve the mature worker. It's administered through the U.S. Department of Labor. So the DOL hands out grants to selected agencies to run the program at the local level. So A4TD is one of those private organizations or small organizations that receive the funding, and we report directly to the Department of Labor. The way the system is designed is it really is a transitional training program meant to help individuals with training needs and barriers to employment. So we, don't take anyone who's just 55 and unemployed, is that we want to make sure that there is also a training need. Things like somebody needing to improve computer skills, or somebody who's reinventing themselves after a long career of doing something, who needs to learn a new occupational trade, or folks who have been at home for a while and want to come back to the workforce. So the participant receives training at a nonprofit or public agency, which we call host agencies. And it's really similar to an internship in that the participant gets workplace experience and learns occupational skills at that location and earns wages while doing it. Those wages are paid by A4TD out of the grant given by DOL. So there's no cost to the agency, there's no cost to the participant. It all comes out of the grant. And at the heart of this program is this dual purpose mission of community service and employment. We provide a community service by placing our participants at local nonprofits. And so our folks are learning new skills and helping out with those projects at the host agencies. So it allows those nonprofits to increase the service to its clientele in the community. So that's how we do community service, is that our participants are in these nonprofits, helping them expand their service, helping to improve their community while getting updated and new skills so that they can take it into employment. So there are immeasurable gains for the host agency when they partnered with us. They can do more business and they can do more good in the area, and our participants get to have all of these great skills which they can take and move into employment. Is they have these new experiences that can go on resumes, they make connections and networking, so they have different references. All of these things are needed to move into that unsubsidized employment. And a lot of folks even increase their confidence because they are spending more time, learning and being needed and important. So they get a boost in confidence as well. So the goal really is for folks to come into the program, be at host agency, learn all of those great skills, and then move into employment. So the goal is not to have people stay in the program for very long. Our target is that most folks are job ready within, a year or so. As an image to help explain that a little bit better, an analogy is that CSEP is basically a bridge to employment, is that our participants are over here on one side, unemployed and looking for work, and they go through CSAP, so they cross the bridge over here to where the jobs are. And I like to use this image of a covered bridge because the supports that we give our participants make it so that they are able to be more successful in that job search, is that they're getting the training, but as well as that they're getting supportive services and they're getting lots of additional skills to help them be successful and really thrive. That's a little bit of background context as to what CSEP is. Let me give you the overview, so the snapshot of what CSEP is. Our participants get roughly 20 hours a week. Sometimes that number goes up or down depending on availability of funds. The wage that they are paid is the local minimum wage. And the bulk of the day-to-day training is at that host agency that I mentioned. There is some time built into the week for participants to do a second type of training called off-site training, which is things like required workshops and adult education and things like that. I'll go into that into more detail in just a moment. We provide wraparound services. So I mentioned that covered bridge is that you get supports. So we help our participants to get around the obstacles and barriers that keep them from obtaining or retaining quality jobs. So these services include things like helping them to develop an employment portfolio, helping to identify job leads, connecting them with employers, helping to apply for jobs, giving references and advocating for them in that job search. We also help participants with supportive services, meaning that if our participants are struggling with needing food assistance or housing or fuel or something like that, we will connect them with the community partner that can help them with those needs. All of our participants, when they enroll and begin their training, are given an individual employment plan, which we call an IEP. And it's something that Department of Labor has actually acknowledged as a best practice. And so what it does is it is a document that helps kind of track all of this stuff here that I was just talking about. Is it's broken up into different sections and different segments that allow us to support and make sure that our participants are being well taken care of. So I have some screenshots of just what it looks like. So that way, it's when you get your own IEP, you can kind of see it. So we have the identification of needs section, which helps track all of those wraparound services, things like the supportive services needing those basic needs, adult education or offsite training. We also track participants' proficiencies in their job skills, so that way we can make sure that our participants are growing and learning. And we also keep track of their job search and their job readiness. So that's just what that document is, and it helps to support the participant. It helps us to really make sure that everything is going well for the participant. Getting into some more detail here, when you enroll in CSEP, you are put into what's called a training track, which is a industry. So you pick what kind of a job or what kind of occupational goal you have, and we match it with a training track, which is what our IEPs are based off of. So what we've done is we've done some research on the labor market index through ONET, and we have found high growth, high demand jobs in 9 different areas. So we offer training and offer connections with host agencies in healthcare, both in the home health aide, which is kind of a companion role, and the personal care aide type of position, which is something that's a little bit higher level and more direct care. We also have training in food preparation and service, general office clerk, janitorial services, retail, customer service, stock clerk, childcare, and these are constantly growing. So I have other here as well, is that even in the last few months, we've actually added in both the childcare and the janitorial one because we found that there was a need for it, is that there was opportunities for our participants. Now, these tracks are designed to be fairly generic, so that way we can get you started with some basic training, and then we can hone in on what your occupational goal is. So this is actually an image of one of our participants. She is in the food service training track here. She's making a big old pot of sauce for a community meal. But what we do is we sit down and talk to you about what occupational goal you have. What do you want to be when you grow up? And we determine what kind of a training track would be best for you. And again, they're meant to be generic, they're meant to be individualized. So for example, somebody wants to be a pharmacy technician. That's their occupational goal. Well, we can either put them in a healthcare track if they want more of that medical focus, wanting to be a pharmacy technician in a hospital or in a nursing home. So we want to give them that experience so they have more of the direct care healthcare experience. But if they're looking for being a pharmacy technician in like a CVS or a Walgreens or like a local pharmacy, then maybe we consider putting them in more of a retail training track so they get the experience of working with customers and running a register and doing stocking shelves. So we talk to the person and we make sure that whatever training track, whatever training option we go with fits their interests, fits what they're looking for. Okay, so our approach is really individualized here. All right, so getting into the actual structure, right? I did the Mile High view, gave some context about the types of training we can offer. Let's get into the more specific elements of what this looks like. So I mentioned that folks do about 20 hours a week, and the majority of it is at a host agency. So our host agencies can either be a 501c3 nonprofit or a public municipality. So here on the screen, you can see a bunch of different examples of host agencies that we utilize. And it is just a smattering. It's not exhaustive. We have so many different types of host agencies and a lot of variety of them. So that's the majority of your training is going to be at the host agency, working on tasks assigned by the supervisor, and learning all kinds of skills in that occupational goal. The other type of training is what we call off-site training, which participants can spend about 5 hours a week at it. And that off-site training is broken into several different options. Is that maybe participants are going to go to a job readiness workshop. So they go to a workshop offered by Department of Labor in how to write a resume or how to do interview skills. Well, that is training that is paid for. We have participants who are working on their GED and are going to adult basic education classes. This is an image of one of our participants from 2021 who earned her diploma working through our program and working with the Vermont Adult Learning. Val, she was able to succeed and get her diploma. We also help participants with computer training, and well, let's face it, who doesn't need computer training? Everything is changing so fast. There's always something new to learn. So we have virtual course options, but we also connect folks with community classes. You know, local libraries often have computer courses. In New York, there's the local Attain Labs run by SUNY that have computer courses. So that's another option for the offsite training. If somebody needs a credential for their occupational goal, so that example I gave earlier about a pharmacy technician, they need a license, they need a certificate. So that is something they could be doing outside of the host agency activity, that they could be working towards that certificate as part of the program. And then we also have monthly network to work meetings, which are fantastic. They're once a month. Our participants get together and they share their experiences and they ask questions, and we run a in-house training on a job readiness topic. So the network to work meetings are once a month and they're mandatory. All of our participants go. It's a great time. A lot of our areas, when they have network to work meetings, will also have, you know, snacks and beverages. And it's just a time for participants to really connect with our staff and connect with one another. So that's the general structure. Like I said, about 20 folks are doing 20 hours a week or so. 15 of them are going to be at a host agency, and 5 are going to be on those offsite trainings, or at least that's the option that they have. We'll move into the next segment of this presentation, which is talking about the eligibility piece. So, who are our participants? You know, what are we looking for participants? So, per regulation, participants must be 55 years or older. They have to be unemployed. They have to meet the low income threshold, which is 125% of the federal poverty guideline. And they have to live in one of the counties that we serve. Now, CSEP is a national program. It is available in all of the states and all of the counties in all of the states. So if you live in one of the counties that is not highlighted, you can still participate in CSAP. We would just have to refer you to the organization that runs it in your county. Okay. And these other barriers, like I said, 55 and older, unemployed while in the program, and then the low income part. Most participants, most applicants look at this and go, yeah, I can tick those off pretty easy. I know how old I am. I know I'm unemployed. I know where I live. And then they get to the income and go, I don't know if I fit this. The way we factor income is pretty complicated because some income doesn't get counted towards that threshold. Things like, unemployment, state assistance, or disability, and even Social Security gets counted for part of it, not all of it. And so if you are looking at this and going, yep, I can check off the 3 of those, but I get to own income and I'm not sure, go ahead and give us a call or apply, talk to us and we'll figure out the income part. Okay. That shouldn't be something that you get hung up on. In addition to those federally regulated, mandated eligibility requirements, we also are looking for individuals who have a training need. And that training need could be a variety of things. I mentioned earlier about how it could be occupational training. So, trying to switch industries, trying to switch careers, and needing that updated skills. Most of our participants are in that category where they are reinventing themselves. They have spent years and years in a certain job and are looking to change. One of the success stories I like to share is that we had a gentleman who, for decades, was a carpenter and did construction, doing roofing, all of those things. And he got to a point where he just couldn't do it anymore, but still wanted to continue to work, still wanted to have a career. So he came to us and we actually worked on a retail training track with him, is that we got him some training in customer service and working in retail so that he actually was able to get a job at the local Home Depot. So he has all of that experience of being in the construction trade. He has all of that great knowledge he can share, but he's now working part-time and in an environment that's a lot easier on him. So that's an example of that occupational skills training, somebody who wants to transition into a new job. Soft skills training could be things like learning how to communicate better or handle conflict. We also have computer training I mentioned earlier when I talked about offsite training, is that all of our participants get computer training. They also all get job readiness training. So, let's say that you have experience in an industry and you want to get back into that industry. You're just not having a lot of luck in applying for them because your resume needs help in updating, or your interview skills are not great. Well, that's a training need, so we can help with that. We also have to have, our participants have to have a barrier to employment. So the Department of Labor has defined 14 different barriers, which are basically just obstacles that prevent somebody from easily getting a job or staying in a job. And they could be things like being in a rural area because there's not a lot of opportunity for jobs. It could also be things like having a disability, or being homeless, or having been unemployed for a really long time. Those are all considered barriers to employment. Kind of other pieces that we always want to think about is our participants should want job training and should be motivated to find a job, because that is the ultimate goal of the program. Is folks come in, they get training, and they exit for a job. So if you are kind of considering, is this program right for me? Do I want to go with this? Then, ask yourself, do you want training? Can you train? Is that you may want training, but you may not be ready for it. You may not be in the right kind of mental space, or you're in the middle of moving or something, is that, there may be some underlying issues that we have to take care of first before you can really devote yourself to the training. And we, if that's the case, we can put you in contact with some partners and we can start working on some of those supports. And then we also ask, do you want to work and can you work? Just because you want a job doesn't necessarily mean that you are able to have a job. Maybe you have some factors that would make it difficult. You have to take care of a loved one or something like that. We obviously can help with some accommodations. Like, it shouldn't necessarily be a health thing keeping you back, is that we can offer accommodations in some instances, but we just want to make sure that you are, going into this ready to go, and you want the training and you're ready to work, and you can jump in both feet. Next steps would be to apply. You could do it one of a few ways. If you have access to technology, you can apply directly online by going to our website, a4td.org, and going over to the top right corner where it says Apply Now. Click on the drop down and then choose the Senior Community Service Employment Program. This will take you to the first page, which is kind of a screener question. So it asks the two basic questions about whether or not you are unemployed and if you are above 55. Once you click that, you'll be able to complete the full application. And it's a pretty standard application. It asks a lot of basic information, such as your contact information, and then it goes into program eligibility pieces. So it is asking about your income and your unemployment status and your residency. It also will ask you about what your training interests are and what kind of work you're looking for, what kind of background you have. So there's a bunch of different questions. You're going to complete all of the ones that have the red asterisks. You must complete those to submit it. Once you've answered all the questions, you would hit submit. If it is successfully submitted, then instead of looking at Don here, you instead will be taken to another page with a smiling woman and a list of documentation that you want to start collecting so that we can move on to the next process. If you don't have access to technology, you can also apply directly in one of our offices. You can call one of them or stop in and they can help you fill out the application. Once your application has gone through, our staff review it, and they, if we have the availability and the opening and they have a good match for it, then what we'll do is we'll call you up and have a conversation with you, and we will find out more about you. So we will ask you things like, why you applied for CSAP, and this is not an interview. It really is just a conversation so that we can get to know you better and get to understand more about you, what your needs are, what your interests are, what your goals are. So that way we can make sure we have a good fit and a good match for a host agency. We also will ask about what previous work experience you have, because that provides us with a lot of information about your transferable skills, soft or hard, and allows us to kind of figure out what training track might be good for you or what host agency options are available. We also talk about what your training needs are. What are you interested in learning? What do you need help with? Again, not an interview, so it's okay to say you need help. It's okay to acknowledge that you're not good at something in this. It's better if you do, because that way we can identify what we can work on with you. What problems can we help you solve? What can we help you overcome? We also talk about what you have been doing for your job search currently, right? Are you looking for work? What kind of work are you looking for? How successful or unsuccessful have you been? Because that lets us know maybe where some more supports could be needed. And then also we just kind of ask other things. What makes you tick? What do you value? What do you find interesting? What kinds of jobs did you like or not like? Do you do any volunteering? Are there any medical concerns? Just lots of different questions to get to know you better. Okay, and so that's what happens next. So you do the application. Our staff reviews it. If we think you're a good match, if we think that you're appropriate for the program, we'll have a conversation with you to ask all of these questions. And then we also share with you the participant responsibilities. I like to share this during the presentation because I believe in, being transparent and making sure everybody is on the same page. So if you are brought into the program, we're going to have you do an enrollment. We're going to move you through and get you training and everything. You should be aware that we have expectations. And so I know it may be difficult to read this on your screen. It may be small, so I'll just kind of summarize the key parts here. So applicants are expected to attend any scheduled meetings, and if they can't, they notify us in advance so we can reschedule. We also expect folks to respond to our outreach. If we give you a call, that you call us back within a reasonable period of time. If we reach out 3 times and there's no response, we have the option of not continuing with the application. We'll just move on to somebody else. We ask that applicants and participants provide documentation that's required. So the Department of Labor requires us to collect certain things. And so we expect our applicants and participants to bring those things to us, to provide those within a reasonable time period. To the best of their ability, participants and applicants will provide accurate and complete information. They will cooperate with us when we give assessments and all of the other paperwork as part of this process. Applicants will not use, possess, or be under the influence of any alcohol or illegal drugs. And then lastly, that you'll behave in a courteous manner when you do meet with us. So that is the 7 kind of responsibilities, expectations for it. So that is the majority of the information I have to share about what the program is and what our participants, our clientele are, what we look for. If you have any questions after the fact, or you want to get in contact with us, you can call this number here, 802-524-3200. Extension 100 is kind of our generic customer service line if you have any questions or want information. You can also go to our website of a4td.org, and there is all of the local office contact information that's listed there. So if I go to a4td.org, which is our website, and I go up here to where it says contacts and locations at the top, it will provide us with a couple of different options here. Is that you can, if you know roughly where your location is in the state, you can, click on the blue dot, and it will give you the information here. So this is the Albany information. For those who may or may not be comfortable utilizing the map, if you scroll a little further down, you have all of the information by state. So if we go to New York, go to our kind of scroll through looking for our rough region. There's some stuff here about Kingston and Potsdam, or here in New York, or Pennsylvania, Maine. They're all set up the same way. So you can scroll through looking for your town or the closest town to you, and it will give you the phone number of a staff member. And if we have an open office there, it will give you the specific address to go to. Okay, so that's how you navigate the website, looking for contact information if you would like to get a hold of one of our staff members in your area. Any thoughts or questions about that? I hope you've got some good information. If you have any questions, like I said, you can contact the local office. You can send me an email about the presentation. So my contact information is kyoung@a4td.org. So my first initial and last name at a4td.org. I'm happy to answer any questions about the presentation itself. You can also give the call here and they'll direct you to my extension. I'm glad you could join us, and I hope you have a fantastic day.